Hi everyone, this is the fourth video of my series on a practical approach to interpretation of arterial blood gas analysis reports. In this video, I plan to help you use a complex formula called as delta-delta ratio as a magnifying lens to spot what can go unspotted many a times in the case of increased anion gap metabolic acidosis if you just look at an ABG report. To make it simple, objectives of this video are to first tell you the concept behind the formula for delta-delta ratio and then to help you apply that formula in a clinical scenario by providing an actual ABG report which we got in our laboratory. So you are provided with a set of values and the question that is assigned to you is to find out the mixed acid-base disorder in that report, and you're given 4 choices. And we know irrespective of the values which we find in an ABG report and irrespective of the clinical suspicion we have in our mind, the first step to interpret any ABG report will be to identify the primary acid-base disorder. And to identify the primary acid-base disorder, I have to look at pH. We know that the normal pH is 7.36 to 7.44. In this case, pH is just 7.176, which is low. So we know it's a case of acidosis. Now to find out whether it's metabolic acidosis or respiratory acidosis, I'm going to look at PCO2. I know that the normal PCO2 is 36 to 44 millimeter of mercury. In this condition, PCO2 is just 13.2 millimeter of mercury, which is low. Now, can a low PCO2 explain a low pH? Answer is no. Had the respiratory disorder in this patient be responsible for the acid-base disorder, it should have caused only alkalosis. Low PCO2 causes only alkalosis because carbon dioxide is a source of acid. So now that I know that respiratory defect is not the cause of acid-base disorder, respiratory defect is not the cause of the primary acid-base disorder, I'm going to look at bicarbonate. I know that the normal actual bicarbonate value is anywhere between 21 and 27 millimoles per liter. In this case, bicarbonate actual value is low, 4.7, which is low, which means low bicarbonate or low concentration of buffer in this person is responsible for acidosis. So it is a case of metabolic acidosis. So I am done with the first step, identifying primary acid-base disorder. Now, irrespective of the primary acid-base disorder that is diagnosed in an ABG report, step number 2 would be to calculate compensation. And if you ask me why should I calculate compensation, it is mainly to identify if it's an uncompensated condition or a compensated condition, or is it a mixed acid-base disorder, which we'll identify in a short while. Okay, now what do you mean by compensation? I've already been telling you in all those 3 videos. Whenever there is a primary defect in metabolic system, compensation will be done by the respiratory system and vice versa. And compensation will always be parallel in the sense, if the primary defect is an increase in bicarbonate, compensation will be an increase in PCO2. If the primary defect is a decrease in bicarbonate, compensation will be a decrease in PCO2. This being a case of metabolic acidosis, it means in this condition, the drop in pH is caused by a drop in bicarbonate. So it has to be compensated by a drop in PCO2. Now, how much drop is expected as far as PCO2 is concerned can be calculated using a formula. So, expected PCO2 in the case of metabolic acidosis is calculated using the formula 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8, and for you to get a range, it would be plus or minus 2. Now, we know bicarbonate in this patient is 4.7. So, it is 1.5 into 4.7 plus 8 plus or minus 2. Now, 1.5 times 4.7 would be 7. So, 7 plus 8 is 15. And the range would be 2 on either side. So, it's anywhere between 13 and 17, which is expected in this condition. Expected PCO2 is anywhere between 13 and 17. What is observed is 13.2, which means it's a case of compensated metabolic acidosis. And at this point, I would like you to understand what does compensated condition mean. It does not mean that the respiratory system has effectively compensated the acidotic condition to bring the pH to normal. It just means that the respiratory system is working to its maximum, trying to compensate for this acidosis, which means beyond this you cannot depend on the respiratory system to compensate for the drop in pH. That's what we mean by compensated metabolic acidosis. Now, what would you call this condition as? If the PCO2 in this person had been say 9, instead of 13.2, if the PCO2 was given as 9, what would you call this condition as? Expected compensation is only till 13. It should have dropped from 40 till 13. But in this condition, you see that the PCO2 has dropped beyond what is expected. Can you call it as overcompensated metabolic acidosis? Please understand, overcompensation is never the case in human body homeostasis. When your body tries to compensate, it's either undercompensation or compensation. Overcompensation is never a case. So if you see an overcompensated condition, it means there is a hidden mixed acid-base disorder. Now, which acid-base disorder do you think can cause a further drop in PCO2? It is respiratory alkalosis. So had the PCO2 in this condition been 9, I would have said it's a case of metabolic acidosis with respiratory alkalosis, but that's not the case here. So what is my diagnosis? It's compensated metabolic acidosis. There is no respiratory defect because compensation is as expected. And there is another reason because of which I'm going to exclude a hidden respiratory disorder, that is based on the standard bicarbonate value. I've compared the actual bicarbonate value with the standard bicarbonate value. I see that both are equal. If both are equal, it means it's a metabolic condition without a respiratory defect, explanation for which has been given in the second video. I've attached the link below in the description box. Now, to give a concise explanation for that, standard bicarbonate is a calculated bicarbonate value. It's a prediction of what the bicarbonate value would be if I equilibrate this blood sample with another fluid of normal partial pressure of oxygen and normal partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Or in other words, I am predicting what would be the bicarbonate value if the person's respiratory system is working properly. So after I correct the respiratory system, if the bicarbonate value is the same as before, it means so long the respiratory system defect had not caused any change. If at all there had been a respiratory defect, it has not caused any change. So if the actual bicarbonate value and the standard bicarbonate value are the same, it means the person does not have any respiratory defect. It's purely a metabolic condition. So I have ruled out respiratory defects in this condition. That is why I have ruled out choice A and choice D, because both choice A and choice D include respiratory acidosis and respiratory alkalosis. Okay. Now, before we try to exclude or include choice B and choice C, whenever it's a case of metabolic acidosis, I will have to calculate anion gap as step 3. So step 1 was to identify the primary acid-base disorder. Step 2 is to calculate compensation. Step 3 is to calculate anion gap in the case of metabolic acidosis. And this has been already discussed in the previous videos, but I'm going to give you a concise view of that. I've told you anion gap is defined as the difference between unmeasured anion and unmeasured cation. And we know the formula for anion gap is sodium minus within brackets chloride and bicarbonate, right? And in this case, what is the sodium value? Sodium value is 143. 143 minus chloride and bicarbonate would be 118 plus bicarbonate. Always use actual bicarbonate in all calculations. So actual bicarbonate is 4.7. So it is 143 minus 122.7. which is 20.3. Anion gap in this condition is 20.3, and we know normal anion gap is anywhere between 8 and 12. So it's clearly a case of increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, which means this is a case of metabolic acidosis that is caused by the production of an abnormal acid. Reason being, whatever may be the abnormal acid that is generated, we are going to represent that acid as HA. That would react with bicarbonate, causing a reduction in bicarbonate and causing a metabolic acidosis. And in this way, it generates an unmeasured anion. And because anion gap is defined as a difference between unmeasured anion and unmeasured cation, in this case, do you see that unmeasured anion concentration increases, which means anion gap is going to be elevated. So now I know that this is a case of compensated increased anion gap metabolic acidosis caused by a production of an abnormal acid, which can be lactic acid or keto acid or an alcohol metabolite, or it can even be a chronic kidney disease wherein metabolic acids have accumulated. Okay, now I want you to know that whenever there is a case of increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, there is a possibility of it hiding a concomitant normal anion gap metabolic acidosis or a metabolic alkalosis. Okay, now we have to unravel those two conditions. We have to find out whether there is a possibility of these two conditions being hidden by increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, and that is why I am going to calculate delta-delta ratio. First, I'll tell you the formula for delta-delta ratio, then I'll tell you the normal expected value for delta-delta ratio, then I'll help you understand the concept behind this formula. So delta-delta ratio is calculated as anion gap minus 12 by 24 minus bicarbonate. And if it's just increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, it's expected to be between 1 and 2. So what does this mean? Why do I say if it's increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, it will be only between 1 and 2? It is because if it's increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, in this case, reduction in bicarbonate will be compensated by an increase in anion gap. Because I said in increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, the acid that is produced, which is Ha, reacts with bicarbonate using bicarbonate and generating equimolar unmeasured anion. Do you see that for every mole of bicarbonate that is getting used by this acid, equimolar anion is getting generated. So how much ever bicarbonate has fallen down, there will be an equal rise in anion gap. So both these will get cancelled. It has to be 1. So the range is anywhere between 1 and 2. So what does it mean when the delta-delta ratio is more than 2? If the delta-delta ratio is more than 2, it means the denominator is low. When will the denominator be low? When the bicarbonate value is high. When will the bicarbonate be high? If bicarbonate is high, you call that condition as metabolic alkalosis. So if increased anion gap metabolic acidosis has masked a metabolic alkalosis, in that case delta-delta ratio will be more than 2. Now what if the delta-delta ratio is less than 1? If the ratio is less than 1, it means the denominator is high. When will the denominator be high? When the bicarbonate value is low. This means the reduction in bicarbonate that is observed in this person is not exactly explained by an increase in anion gap. That is, more than the increase in anion gap, there is a disproportionate fall in bicarbonate. So there is an additional hidden normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. So if it is less than 1, the inference is it's a combination of high anion gap metabolic acidosis and a normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. So to summarize, delta-delta ratio normally is between 1 and 2. When I say normally, I mean to say if it's just a high anion gap metabolic acidosis, it's between 1 and 2. If it's more than 2, it means it's a high anion gap metabolic acidosis along with metabolic alkalosis. So if you are wondering when in a clinical scenario will I find a combination of high anion gap metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis, example would be ketoacidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis and vomiting. Yeah, diabetic ketoacidosis we know causes high anion gap metabolic acidosis, vomiting causes metabolic alkalosis. So in that condition you are going to find this combination. Whereas if delta-delta ratio is less than 1, it means it's a combination of high anion gap metabolic acidosis and normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Again, if you are wondering when will I find such a combination, imagine a patient who is suffering from type 2 diabetes, and this type 2 diabetic patient has got a GI infection causing diarrhea. Okay, and GI infection is a stress. And in times of, during periods of stress, you know, the insulin demand increases and that causes ketoacidosis. So diarrhea, diabetic ketoacidosis. Diarrhea causes normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Diabetic ketoacidosis causes increased anion gap metabolic acidosis. So to unravel such hidden conditions in the case of increased anion gap metabolic acidosis, we have to calculate delta-delta ratio. Let's find out what is the delta-delta ratio in this case. So we know the formula for delta-delta ratio is anion gap minus 12 by 24 minus bicarbonate. And in this case, we already calculated that the anion gap is 20.3. So 20.3 minus 12 would be 8.3 divided by 24 minus bicarbonate here is 4.7. So it is 8.3 divided by 19.3. If you calculate, you will get it as 0.47 or 0.41 or 0.42. Okay, so I said if the delta-delta ratio is anywhere between 0.4 and 1, it means it's a combination of high anion gap metabolic acidosis and normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. So probably it's a case of diarrhea which has precipitated diabetic ketoacidosis. So what is the answer for this question? Answer for this question is choice B. Okay, now summary. This is the summary for the sure success algorithm that you can use for high anion gap metabolic acidosis. So for any acid-base disorder, the first step would be to identify the primary acid-base disorder. And for any acid-base disorder, step number 2 would be to calculate compensation. And your inference would be either as uncompensated or compensated acid-base disorder. If there is overcompensation, you would find out a hidden mixed acid-base disorder. Yeah, with this it would be complete for all other acid-base disorders. But if it's metabolic acidosis alone, you're going to go to step number 3 wherein you will calculate anion gap. And if anion gap is normal, you know that this metabolic acidosis is caused by loss of bicarbonate either through GIT or through kidney. An example for GI loss of bicarbonate is diarrhea. Example for renal loss of bicarbonate is renal tubular acidosis. And if you're asking me how will I find out whether it's diarrhea which has caused normal anion gap metabolic acidosis or renal tubular acidosis which has caused normal anion gap metabolic acidosis, then the answer to that question is calculating urinary anion gap. And I'll be telling you about urinary anion gap in the last video. That's the 5th video of this series. Okay, now what if the anion gap is high? If anion gap is high, it means it's a metabolic acidosis caused by the production of an abnormal acid. But in all cases of high anion gap metabolic acidosis, you should also try to find out if there is a hidden normal anion gap metabolic acidosis or metabolic alkalosis, for which you have to calculate delta-delta ratio. If delta-delta ratio is between 1 and 2, you would say that it's a case of just high anion gap metabolic acidosis. If it's more than 2, it means it is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis plus metabolic alkalosis. If it's between 0.4 and 1, it means it's high anion gap metabolic acidosis plus normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. So this is the sure success algorithm for metabolic acidosis. And I'll be discussing about urinary anion gap in the next video. Until then, see you.